Welcome to my YouTube video. This video is about self-empowerment and taking back your power. I am just like so many other people, used to give my power away very easily. And I thought that people's opinions were more important and more valued than my own. Then as I got older, even so this year, I realized that I actually don't need to rely on other people's validation and their opinions and what they decide for themselves is for them, and it won't always fit for me. So a few things like this year, I learned that I don't actually have to be in like places or with around people or certain situations because it's actually like my life and I get to decide who's in it and what I allow and what I want to be surrounded by. So I had to set up a lot of boundaries, which was a huge thing for me because I never really had boundaries. So when you don't have boundaries, a lot of people will take from you and they will, continue to take. And then when you start setting up boundaries, then all of a sudden you look like the bad person because now you're actually doing it and you're not acting in the way that they want you to. So in this video, I'm going to discuss about taking your power back and trusting yourself and not going and looking for things from other people, but realizing that you have your own power. So in this video, we will go over that. The first thing is as you get older and stuff, you grow to know yourself more. Like I know my patterns, I know who I am. And at the age I'm 32. I feel like your 30s, you're starting to really like hone in on who you are as a person and what you want and what your life looks like. In my 20s, I feel like it was just like, whoa, it was like just craziness everywhere. Like you're learning so much about yourself, friends, relationships. And I feel like in those years, I didn't have any boundaries. So I was walked over a lot and I felt it when someone takes your power away, it does not feel good. And, and they might not even intentionally be taking away your power. It could be just who they are. Like you're going to meet people in life who are like, very set in their ways and it's their way or no way. But that's the thing is like not having boundaries was so bad for me because then, and for anybody, because then it makes you feel very small and your needs aren't being met in the way that they should be. But the worst part about it all was that you're abandoning yourself to please others. And when you're doing that and you're self-abandoning yourself, then it puts you in, your life ends up looking a lot different than what you want it to be. And then one day you would just snap. So you need to realize that you have the power and you have the decision like to make for yourself that will improve your life. And that's for you to do, regardless of who it hurts. And if you put up a boundary and they don't like that and they take it another way, then wash your hands of that person because that person is not supposed to be in your life. You should never be in a relationship that you cannot set boundaries in fear that they're going to leave. If that's the case, then that's not a good relationship and you need to reevaluate that. And I'm not talking about just like partners, I'm talking about friendships, family members. Like you don't, just because have family and they're family to you doesn't mean you need to be treated a way that's not good for you and allow them to take your power that way. The thing too about self-empowerment is to really get it and to like develop it. You need to build trust with yourself. And I am still building trust with myself because I feel like I don't really have that much trust yet, but I'm working on it. And when I say building trust, it's like when you're telling yourself that I'm going to do this and then you don't do it and you continuously do that. So then yourself is like, well, I know you're not actually going to do that. It's like the relationship with yourself, you don't trust. And that's how I was. I remember being in counseling too, and I was talking to her about my counselor about how I don't trust myself to actually choose a good partner. Now that was before. Now I feel like I have built a lot more trust in myself, and I know that I can choose someone who's very good for me. But back then though, because I didn't make the best decisions before at all, actually. So there's no proof, there's no evidence for myself to say that my next decision in a partner is going to be any better. but it's a lot of inner work. And the more I worked on myself, now it's just, you know, the people I'm choosing now in my life, friendships, all of that, all have set a certain, like, they all bring something to me that is for my future self. Like, I can see myself in these relationships developing, like, as I grow, they'll grow too. And that's super important too, because then when you're trying to improve and self-improve, and then you have these relationships that are very much based on who you used to be and not who you are now, you will have moments, some people won't want to grow with you, right? And then that's when you got to wash your hands of them too and say goodbye. You need people in your life who will grow, and people will come for reasons, seasons, as that saying goes. So you just need to pivot when those friendships go away and know that more are coming. It's just how life works. That's how the universe works. It sheds old layers and then new things come. So the thing too is to build trust with, like, how I started doing that was, and this is how you get empowering to yourself. Like, this is how you trust yourself. Is I started, you know, when I said I was going to go to the gym and work out, I don't go to the gym. I work out in my basement. But when I'm going to work out, I work out. I consistently work out now, like consistently. It's not even like, I don't even actually have to make the decision to work out. It's just natural that, like, this is something I'm going to do. Like, it's like, this is going to get done. And the more you do that, and you build that trust with yourself and you do repetitive, the more that you're like, oh, okay, you know I'm going to do this. And it's with everything too. Like, I know that, like, now when I make a decision and stuff, I always think about, like, how it will affect my future self. Well, I try to. I'm not always that way. Like, obviously I have my moments. I'm not perfect. But then I'm like, the more it's amazing, because the more you start really getting into it and knowing what you want for yourself and your future, you start, like, making choices. So at the beginning, it was kind of really hard. Like, it was exhausting to make those choices, because I had to, like, constantly, like, stop and be like, okay, is this a choice that, like, you want to make that's going to be good for you for the future or not? And it's like things like drinking, right? Even though I do have my moments where I go back and I have maybe, like, a little too much to drink. But it's like, okay, I know tomorrow I'm going to waste a whole day being hungover. Is this going to benefit me? It's decisions like that. Even like with smoking, I was like, well, my future self wouldn't smoke, so I'm not going to do this anymore. And I quit that. And it's things like that that when you start doing that, then you're like, okay, I trust myself more to make these decisions because I'm doing it. And that's what it is. It's just, everything in life is just the relationship with yourself. So the relationship you have with yourself is the relationships you're going to look for in everybody else. So if you're not, if you're not there for yourself, you're abandoning yourself for others, you're going to find friendships and relationships that are going to do the same to you, because everything's a reflection of your relationship with yourself. So once you start building that relationship and that trust with yourself, and you like treat yourself, like look at yourself as like, here's me, and then here's like my mirror self right in front of me, and how I treat that person, which is myself, like just pretend that they're across from you as like a twin, and you have to treat them and take care of them and be kind to them. That relationship you develop between you and your twin, which is yourself, is the relationship that you're going to find in everybody else. Everything's a reflection, everything. So the more I started being like, well, I'm going to the gym consistently and I'm eating healthy because I decided to make those decisions, and I showed up and did it for myself to take care of myself, which is an extremely loving act to do for myself. The more I did that, it gave me the power, because now I have that trust in myself, and I know that I can make good decisions. And then it just snowballs, and then you continuously do that. And that's the thing with, like, when you have a good sense of self and who you are as an individual, you're less likely to go and do what other people want, especially if it's something that involves you abandoning yourself. And that was a huge thing for me, because I didn't have boundaries. So for me, it was like I had maybe a whole night beautifully planned for myself that was super loving and amazing, and then I drop it because somebody wanted to go out and get drunk, right? And now I don't do those things. Now it's like I have things that, like, even this YouTube video, like I have other plans, but I know this is something that I need to be done because I want to. And I told myself I was going to do it, so now I'm going to do it. And I get it done every time, every weekend. I get it done. And the more you do that, the easier it gets. And then it's funny too, because once you start putting yourself first in that way, and you start choosing yourself in that way and trusting yourself, everything around you like starts kind of changing, and you get more magnetized. Like people are more attracted to that type of person. And it just creates way more opportunities for yourself too. And then the thing too is like you're put less in situations with people that you don't really care to be around. And like that's where it is. Like now I'm like going off a lot of energy. Like, and I'm starting to very much be protective of my energy. I think that's now my next step, is to make sure that like I'm not giving and giving and giving and then not receiving. It should be in relationships, right? And so sometimes you have to like, you know, set like boundaries and say like, you know what, like honestly, this is not going to work for me anymore. Like I can't do this, and start putting yourself first. And once you start doing that, then you start getting more confident, and then you feel better, and you're just not draining yourself for other people. Another thing too is like, I had to cut off a few like relationships in the past, and these were relationships that were just very draining. And there was like, I despised like knowing that I had to see these people, like made me anxious, made me upset, made me like just super uncomfortable. I didn't want to do it. It was affecting my mental health. And I realized like, honestly, I actually don't need to. Like, I don't need to. I don't actually have to put myself in this situation and be around these people. And once I cut them off and I blocked the numbers, it's been amazing. Like they would text me and I would immediately get set off into anxiety. And now, because they're not coming up and everything, like it's so like such a relief, because it's so mentally exhausting being around people who drain you in that way. And now I'm surrounded by people who are supportive of me, who care about me, who love me. And in that, it shows, because then the more I'm around those people and like I'm growing and I'm giving them and they're growing and we're all growing together, it's just a beautiful thing. Like they water me, I water them. And it's amazing, because then you realize the more you do that and you have these people in your life, the more you realize that you actually, and then you see other people too, and you're like, I don't feel the same with them. So I know these relationships need to go. You kind of you understand like what is good for you and what isn't. And then the more you understand what's good for you and what works for you and who you should have in your life, the more you can weed out those other ones. And even if you meet new people and you're like, something doesn't feel right, then go on. Just get rid of them. You don't need it. People come. The world is abundant. You're going to meet so many people. People will come, people will go. You'll learn things from them. You'll develop new characteristics from them. You'll pick awesome positive things from them. And then there'll be some negative things that you realize you can't tolerate. And then that's just how life is. But it's amazing, because I never been in this position. I always was in positions where I was like, do they like me? And now it's like, do I like you? Do you make me feel good? Or is this something I'm going to have to let go of? And the more you do that, the more you start shaping your life to being suitable for you and to make you feel good and all that, then the more powerful you feel. You don't have to let anybody take your power. And that's what's happening, is some will naturally take it because there's takers and they don't give. They'll naturally take. And it's always when it's good for them. And then there's people who are givers. And then when they're giving, you give back because you're a giver, which is beautiful friendships. But you never actually have to give your power to anyone. If you have the power to say no to them and not feel bad, you don't have to feel bad for saying no and setting the boundaries. And if they were truly the people in your life, then they will be okay with it. You have the power to decide what you want to do with your life and your day and your free time. You have the power to decide where you want to work, the power to decide how you dress, who you associate with, your habits, your choices, what do you do? Like, you have that power. Nobody has that power. And people will try to put you down or maybe call you things that is not true. And that's them trying to take your power. Don't allow them. It doesn't matter. What matters is how you feel about yourself and the relationship you have with yourself. And the more you build that relationship, the more easy it is to decide what's for you and what's not for you, and to not allow people to tell you differently. I recently did have somebody tell me that I was something that I feel I'm not. And it honestly, it was like very hurtful. It was very upsetting. And I realized that they were, again, trying to pull me to a level that I don't want to go to. So I have to let it go. I know who I am because I now trust myself, and I know that I make good choices, and I know that I'm not that type of person. And from there, because I know that and I built that trust with myself, what they can say whatever they want, it doesn't matter. And that's the same with like seeking like validation from others. Like I would always like, be one of those people that would dress a certain way to be liked by certain people, and to do all that because I wanted to be accepted, which I have talked in my past videos. But the thing is, like, you don't actually, I'm like at that, like another point in my life too, where it's like, honestly, I think I look good. I think I'm beautiful. And that's all that matters. As long as I think that, then it doesn't matter. And I wear clothes that now I want to wear and that I'm comfortable with, not because some other people do. And I do my makeup the way I want to do it. And it's amazing because when you start getting that back and that power, you feel so good and you just flourish and you grow. And being loved by yourself properly is just a beautiful way to live life. I've rambled a lot on this video, but anyways, if you do like my content, please subscribe, and please put in the comments some ways that you are bringing back your power, and I would love to hear that. And I hope everyone has an amazing day.